This is a 2016 Bullet Ultralite. The Bullet logo here came off in the wind. All right guys, working on a real common problem with travel trailers, and that is above where the tires are here, the water sprays up on the bottom of the camper, and all they have here is like a tarp paper material, and underneath there is like 1/4 inch particle board wood. The moisture gets through that tar paper stuff and then just starts deteriorating, and as you can see right here, this is all deformed under here. So actually on this camper I had a tire blow a while back and it destroyed all that tarp paper stuff up there. So I came up with a solution that I made a video on a year or two ago, and we went on a 7,000 mile trip. It held up really well for that trip, but then I noticed that some of my pieces were coming down. I'll put a link in the description for that video if you're interested in seeing what I did. It wasn't obviously a permanent fix, so I went ahead and ripped all that old stuff I'd put on here out. It was like a corrugated plastic, and I've taken all that down, and so this is the foam that's underneath the camper here that you're protecting from rocks and stuff getting flipped up. So this distance from the outside strut here and this lip here is about 12 inches. I already went along with an oscillating saw and cut this back, this 1/4 inch wood that's here. I bought some of this flashing here. This is 14 inches wide, 10-foot long piece here, black on the inside, tan on the outside. So what I'm thinking about is cutting pieces that are about a 1/2 inch wider than this distance here, sliding it in at least a 1/2 inch on this side, and then bolting it on this side, maybe putting some caulk underneath it, seal everything up. I have a few struts here part way down, so just for assembly, I think I'm going to cut 2 pieces for this long section and screw them together here in the middle. So I'm going to take a measurement here for my first piece and see how all this goes. So this is about 12 3/4. There was some long bolts right here that I don't know exactly what it's going into, but these bolts are pretty long. I'd like to go through my aluminum flashing with these bolts as well, but I don't have a lot of room to work with, so I don't know if I can slip everything in if this is too wide. This is hollow tubing here, so I can screw into them with self-drilling screws or something. I'll measure down here to the strut down here, so I want to cut this plenty long, and it can even overlap, it isn't going to hurt anything. So I'm going to cut this one 40 inches. So 12 3/4 by 40. I'm thinking this stuff should be thin enough that I can score it and cut it that way. Okay, I'm almost cutting through it, so I think scoring it's going to work pretty good. So now I should just be able to take it and bend it. Okay, I have a nice straight cut. This is going to be my exposed side because it's black and that's the original color of the tarp stuff that was there. So I got my length. Now I need to get my width. Got my 2 marks. Now I should just be able to line this up and score this. Ah, moved it. All right, once I get my metal on here, I'm not going to be able to see these holes, so I need to mark them somehow. I got this soapstone here, and I'm just going to put a mark lined up with where those holes are so I can hopefully screw into them through my metal. And they are about 1/2 inch from the edge, so I know that going in. Let's see if this piece fits up in here. All right, I spent some time working on this to see what would work the best here. So I took that thin aluminum sheeting and slid it about a 1/2 inch in all the way around. And then on the outside here, I put my long screws back in that go through the struts up into the wall of the camper. And now I'm gonna go along and put some extra stainless steel self-tapping screws in. I've marked right here, there's a few struts that go across. So I used 2 pieces to fill this in underneath here. And I'm gonna put some screws right here to keep that nice and snug. And then there's a strut right here and a strut right in this area here. I'm gonna put some screws just because I can. That's the benefit of using this aluminum, is hopefully it will stay in, because I could shove it in farther because it was thinner. The corrugated plastic just basically was sitting on that lip, and that's why it failed, started falling down. I'm hoping that this works much better. I still have one more piece, which I'll show you guys how I go about putting it in. It's kind of a painstaking process, but once it's in, it seems to be pretty good. So I'll go ahead and put some screws in here this morning as I'm getting started, and then we'll move on to that last piece down there. This is the stainless steel screws I bought off of Amazon, about 1 inch long. Just putting one in between these big screws just to kind of keep it from flopping around. All right, gonna put a couple across this struts here. Well, I marked that, but somehow I'm missing the strut. That's not good. I have to caulk those holes now. Well, I'm not gonna try anymore to find that strut. I had it marked right there, and for some reason I'm not hitting anything, so I must have really marked that wrong. So the bottom line is, this metal is just to protect all this foam up here and the spaces around the foam, so that water's not flipping up in there and getting up into the bottom of the camper. So this is definitely gonna be a lot better than what was in there originally. It's kind of the finished product, other than using some silicone over those. I'm also going to put some silicone along here just to keep the water from going up over this I-beam. All right, gonna get this last piece measured. I have a strut on this end, which is nice, and a strut on this end to screw to, and then obviously the outside of this. I want to measure it from end to end, but then I want to add about a 1/2 inch on each end, because I'm going to try to slide it in. This is going to be a little bit difficult because I'm gonna have to get this part in and then try to get the ends in all at the same time. The good thing is, like I said, I got struts here and here, so even if I don't get far into the edges here, it'll hold it in place because of these struts I'll be able to screw to. Alright, that should break off now. Careful, these edges are pretty sharp. Alright. And now it can't slide. I'm going to take a stone and just take this, has a rough edge here. This will just cause me more heartache when I go to try to shove it in along the I-beam, so I'm going to take that off. You can use any kind of, like a whetstone, a file, anything to just take this rough edge off. And yeah, I know it's gonna take some of my paint off, but I want this to be a nice smooth edge. Nobody's gonna be looking underneath the trailer anyway. Now I need to go along and make sure I have enough relief here, enough cut back, that piece will slide into here. That's the whole point of this metal, to keep that water out of there. So I'm gonna take my oscillating saw and just make sure all this is cut back. It's gonna be challenging here because the way the skirting is, it comes around the edge like this. Gives me a lot less room to work. I do not want to have to take all this off. And before I get too far, I'm going to mark these struts so I know exactly where they're at, the center of them. So I start right on the bottom edge, or the top edge I should say, of this I-beam, and then I cut up at about a 30-degree angle. And so that should give me a 1/2 inch of space to slide that metal in. I want to see some of that wood come out of there. See, I like seeing these wood chips come out that way. I know I got some depth in there. Alright, these holes here is where these long bolts go in, and how I know where they go is I'll mark right here, like if it's, I'll mark E here for like if it's right on the edge, or like here where it's a 1/2 inch in, I'll mark that here, so when I get my piece up here and I can't see, I'll know about where to put these bolts to go through my metal. And I'll also mark the center of those holes so I know where to push them through as well. But other than knocking a few little pieces out of here, I think I'm ready to try that piece. I want to avoid creasing this anywhere if I have to, especially on the edges. Okay. Trying to get this side started down here. I don't think I cut this long enough. It is long enough to make the ends, I think. So actually it might work out better, because I don't know if I could have shoved it in the side and the long part at the same time, but we could go ahead and caulk the ends anyway, and since we have a strut on each end we can screw to. This actually might work out pretty good. The hardest thing is moving it. Once you start getting it where you want it, because all the friction. So down here I think we have interference. It looks like there's some wood there that's stopping it, so I'm gonna take my saw and try to get that out of there without taking the piece back down. Sometimes it helps to take a putty knife and just make sure things are out of the way and it has a clear path to go in. Because if this takes one spot that can stop it from going in. It's good now. Now it's this end. That's a little bit of a problem. Cut that, so I'm going to get a new piece. And I'm going to grind that out a little more too before I get the new piece. Added a 1/4 inch to the length of this since I'd cut it a little bit short on the last one. Let's see if I have any better luck getting this piece in here. Alright, before I get too far, I'm going to mark these holes that are going to be hidden. So this one here is about a 1/2 inch back, and that one's a 1/2 inch. This one is right on the edge, so we're going to put an E for that. This one's a 1/2 inch, and this one is, wow, about 5/8. Now I should be able to find those holes once we get this in here. All right, I think I'm getting there, guys. This was a bear, that's for sure. But the victory is near. So now I'm just trying to work this end behind here. I think we're there. Woo! That was a job. We got good amount underneath there. Got some on the ends. This part right here is not underneath, but that's because this isn't square. So we got it shoved in at the top. And obviously we can screw into this strut here that I marked. So I can feel there's a little bit extra on this end. It could be just because this distance is a little bit different down here. Or it could be because it's not in as far as it could be. I think we're gonna call it before we mess anything else up. So that's how it looks from that end all the way down to this end. Looks a lot better. And hopefully will last a lot longer. Now I'm gonna try to find these holes that these long screws go back up in. Let's start here in the middle. Yep, we found it. I know this one's a 1/2 inch away. I marked it and I can still see the mark. So make sure this is in as good as it can be. Now we're going to put some screws across the area here where the strut is that I marked right here. Hopefully we can hit it. I'm going to put some at the back now. Okay, so now I'm going to caulk all around the edges around here. Nut back on first. Well guys, that's gonna do it for this video. I already adjusted the brakes on this side. I'm gonna grease these hubs up through this access hole right here, and then put these tires back on and get this thing off the jacks finally. It's taken me several days to kind of work on this on and off, and I'm not gonna lie, it was not a fun job. Working up, you know, underneath something, looking up, just a distance that you can't quite reach it, and just not been fun, but what choice did you have? Once this stuff starts coming apart, I'm going to be doing a video next on adjusting these brakes. These are not self-adjusting brakes, so every once in a while you need to tighten them up a little bit so they work efficiently. So I'm going to be doing the other side, adjusting the brakes and checking the pads and stuff. I'm going to be making a video on that here next. Does it for this video, guys. Till next time, good luck with all your projects.